Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Terrace Talk. I feel like I'm back at my spiritual home. This is the show that I did used to host and has subsequently been taken on by my colleague Adam Harvey. He's away doing other stuff tonight, work-related stuff, I hasten to add. He's not gone off nightclubbing or anything. So I get to stand in. And what an episode this is to stand in for as we look ahead to Norwich against Southampton this weekend. I'm delighted to be joined by Glen Cour from Total Saints podcast to look ahead to Saturday's clash. And I mean, there's probably few teams at the moment where there is quite as much to talk about as there is Southampton. Glenn, is that probably fair? It feels like it's been quite frantic the last few months and weeks for you guys since relegation.
Yeah, it has been. Obviously, we've got a new manager who you know well, Russell Martin, and then there was a little bit of a quiet spell where we assumed that that all our good players would leave straight away, but of course that doesn't happen. You end up with infuriating Premier League sides offering really low ball fees because they just assume that because you're in the Championship that you're going to accept any offer that's going. We're in quite a fortunate position in that we're not financially desperate. And some of the players, if you take Romeo Lavia, for example, and Tino Livramento, because they were both signed kind of from the big boys youth teams, they're not on the highest wages. So there's no real it's not like we need to get their wages off the books. So that's another reason for we don't have to sell for cheap, and it's been quite nice to see our sort of like new owners digging their foot in and saying, no, we're not letting you have these players because we're well known for selling players to the bigger clubs, and you always feel slightly shortchanged. But it's quite nice that we're not doing so. But of course we've lost one today by the look of it, and we lost Tino Livramento last week. We'll probably lose Romeo Lavia next week, and obviously it was James Ward-Prowse today. Which, so there's a lot to write about, as there always is when it's the big clubs that are involved. They don't care about, the media don't care about Saints or Norwich unless they're selling a player to one of the big boys. That's the way it is. But a lot of people get upset about it, obviously, because it's your favourite player leaving and stuff. As you can see, I've been around quite a while, so I'm kind of used to it now, and I kind of accept it. We've been through this sort of many times before. The most recent time being sort of like 2016 when we lost Sadio Mane and Virgil van Dijk to Liverpool, and we're still here. We've gone down a league this year, but you get to learn that these things go in cycles, and we'll be back one day. But yeah, there's some short-term pain to go through.
Yeah, Norwich fans know all about that after relegation from the Premier League and that process and how infuriating it can be. And we're probably experiencing a little bit of it right now around a few players. Obviously, probably not to the magnitude that Southampton are at this moment in time. And let's get it all out of the way then, because obviously Tino Livramento has gone. He's gone to Newcastle. At time of recording, James Ward-Prowse looks like he's going, but hasn't officially gone. And then, as you mentioned, Lavia as well. Lots of strong reports linking him to Liverpool. So I guess Ward-Prowse is probably the topical one. What are your views on that? I mean, someone who's had a long association with Southampton. He played in your opening game of the season last Friday night. Doesn't look like. I mean, there's been there were reports earlier in the day today that he might play on Saturday. It now looks like he's not going to play. What are your thoughts and reflections on his impending move to West Ham as it looks like?
Well, firstly, I'd be amazed if he played on Saturday, regardless of where the deal is, how far along it is. I honestly can't see that one. He's been with us since he was 8 years old, and he's now 28. When you talk about the players that Saints have historically lost, if you go back to the days of Gareth Bale and Theo Walcott, they were like 16, 17. When they left, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain the same. They got in, played half a season, and then left, and that was always quite difficult to take. With Prowse, because he's been here so long, he's been the captain for about 3 years. He's been a regular in the team for the best part of 10 years, and he's done his time. He's done his time. He's played for England a few times. It's always felt like he's got a raw deal with England, and you always think it's because of who he plays for. So whether a move to West Ham will get him back in the England squad, I think that's what the main driver is behind it. And he wants to play European football. He had a taste of it with us in 2016, 17, I think, and we didn't get particularly far. We got to the Europa League group stages, and we were dreadful and got knocked out. But he always cites that as being his favourite season, even just because he had the European football. So I honestly don't blame him at all. I accepted our relegation in about January. So I get annoyed about it because I just knew it was coming after the January transfer window. I thought, nah, that's it. We're stuffed. We've had it. As any club that has Nathan Jones in charge would think. But and with that, I accepted the fact that he would probably go. It annoys me the kind of you shouldn't take things you read on Twitter, or whatever it's called these days. You shouldn't take them too much to heart, but the disrespect that he's got from other clubs, including other clubs' fans, including West Ham fans. They don't really, well, why are we paying all this money for this guy? Well, you'll find out soon enough. But it's an interesting one for Prowsey because, obviously he had a lot of credit in the bank at Saints, so he could have 3 or 4 bad games and no one would get on his back or whatever. At West Ham, I'm not sure he's going to have that luxury. So I hope for his sake he hits the ground running, especially as they're going to see him as a replacement for Declan Rice, even though he is a completely different player. So that'll be interesting for him. He's obviously got a new fan base to win over straight away. So it's a difficult one. I can't think of too many examples where a player's been at a club until he was sort of 28 or whatever, and then left. I'm sure there are some out there. But no, it's going to be a strange one for him, and it's going to be quite difficult. But I can't do anything but wish the guy the best, really, and hope it all goes well with him. And it's a case of King is dead, long live the King. We've got to get someone else in to fill the role that he's left.
Yes, absolutely, and it's some hole as well, isn't it? I mean, there's been you referenced relegation there. There's been real sweeping changes at Southampton. I mean, you referenced Nathan Jones. Obviously, You've had Ruben Tellez since then. Russell Martin now in. Jason Wilcox has come in as sporting director of football type at the club as well. You mentioned the change in ownership, which happened earlier on. Where would you sum up where Southampton are at the moment? Because that's a lot of change in one summer. Is that conducive to a season where there is going to be an expectation from fans to go and get promoted, or do you think there's perhaps a little bit more patience within the fan base as a result of everything that's happened and changed in the last few weeks?
No, you know what football fans are like. They as a rule. I mean, I think we're quite we're not the people from Southampton. We're not really the big I am. We're quite humble about things. You won't catch anyone saying, we're the Manchester City of the Championship or anything rubbish like that. What will be. You got to remember, we've been going in the wrong direction for the best part of 5 years. We've been terrible, really bad, and we've been hanging on. And it was, we just got found out last year. So it's going to take quite a lot to turn it round, regardless of the fact that it's a league further down. It's going to take quite a lot to turn it round, and for us to suddenly win enough games to, challenge the automatic promotion spots. And we made a good start last week against Sheffield Wednesday, but it's, that's just one game. So I think it is going to take time. We are obviously going to have at the moment we've got what looks on paper like a strong team, but I mean, we played Gillingham in the cup last night and played the squad players and got beat 3-1. So that shows you where we're at. If you dip below the first team, yes, we've got a lot of players, but we've got a lot of crap ones. So who I will be delighted. The sort of, I mean, Alex McCarthy got linked with Crystal Palace. I'll drive him there myself. That sort of thing. We've got a few like that. Last year we really wrote the book on how to get relegated because it was just an absolute shambles from start to finish.
Were the previous authors Norwich City on that? Because
possibly. I mean, the last time we got relegated was, I don't know, 2005, and we did the 3 managers in a season thing.
Mm-hmm.
And and that's what we did last year. So we started off with Ralph Hasenhüttl, who was great for a couple of years, but he was a busted flush. He was knackered. You could tell he was. Kept him too long. We then appointed Nathan Jones, which was just a fiasco from start to finish. Disaster. It amazes me how some people get through an interview process. You could just tell from minute one that he was going to be a disaster. And unfortunately, he won a couple of cup games. He legendarily denied Manchester City the treble, and we knocked him out of the Carabao Cup. So that meant we kept him for a few games too long in the league, and we were virtually dead. And we appointed. I say we were virtually dead. We appointed Ruben Sellers, who never seemed to get the brief that we had to win games now. You know, we only had to win probably 5 games out of the last 15, and we would have stayed up. And we got to about 3 games or 4 games to go, and we were still only 4 points adrift. It was ridiculous. We kept losing, and everyone else kept losing, and it was like we were like the turd that wouldn't flush. It was just a bit like that. And then eventually, of course, you lose a game, someone else wins, and suddenly it's 7 points, and then it's 10, and then you're down. And so it was a almighty combination of everything. So 3 managers who I've just mentioned, players who didn't care, dreadful transfer windows both in the summer and January, and we sold the wrong players as well. I mean, we got rid of Fraser Forster and replaced him with a 20-year-old.
Oh, we love Fraser Forster here.
Yeah,
he had a good loan spell here over a
Yeah.
decade ago. Yeah,
And I mean, Forster ended up the season as Spurs number 1. We sold Oriol. We sold Oriol Romeu, who's now playing for Barcelona. So that's 2 great decisions there. Well done, lads. And the ownership, because they came in, a lot of the sort of like people behind the scenes, like the academy director and the recruitment director, they all left. And we got to January and we didn't have anyone in place. You know, we didn't. So this guy Rasmus Ankerson, who's markets himself as big brain, knows everything about everything. He took charge of the January recruitment, and we spent 40 odd million on players who didn't play. It was just endless. It was just like nothing surprised you by the end. It was just like joke after joke after joke. What are we going to do next? And it was just inevitable that we'd go down. And now we've got to try and treat it as a blank sheet of paper. Russell Martin's come in, and as you say, Jason Wilcox has come in. We now have people in place in the board in the important positions. So hopefully it's onwards and upwards, but we will see.
Yeah, Russell Martin, I was going to ask you about him. Someone that the Norwich fans know well, over 300 appearances here as a player, former captain. I think everyone at some point expects him to be Norwich City manager. It hasn't quite happened yet, and it hasn't quite aligned, and maybe it won't now. Who knows? But that certainly felt like it was going to be inevitable. What have you made of him in his opening weeks in charge? Because he plays a very specific type of football, very possession based. It's one I think it's quite Marmite with people. I think people either really love it or really don't like it, and he's had to obviously shape it as he's developed as a coach as well. Matt Gill as well, assistant at Southampton, former Norwich player and coach actually. So lots of links. What have you made of him so far? Like, it's a really good start against Sheffield Wednesday, particularly that first half where you were so dominant. I think it eased off a little bit after that. League Cup defeat, which, as you said, you can never really read anything into. But his demeanour and his ideas, what have you made of him so far?
Excellent so far. I like the fact that after the Gillingham defeat, he wasn't afraid to not specifically throw people under the bus, but the talk was there that some people had a chance tonight to play their way into my plans, and they've blown it. So I like that. So far, I haven't found anything remotely to be annoyed about. He's been excellent. The style of football, if you win the game at the end of the day, everybody loves it. But if you play that style of football and you pass it around and you have 75% possession and you don't win, then people use that style of football as a stick to hit you with. So it's a total change from what we were doing before, because we were a team that almost relied on the other team having the ball. And we would go for so Ralph Hasenhüttl's idea was to basically win the ball high up the pitch And that was where most of your chances come from. He always used to go on about high ball wins and all that sort of stuff. Trouble is that stopped working, and that was part of the problem. Because if you didn't get the spaces between the lines exactly right, other teams could just play through it or bang over the top, and our defence would always cough up a goal. So it stopped working. So it was a worry that we were going to go into the Championship and try and play that way, because we are, like it or not, a relatively big club in the Championship. Most teams are going to come to St Mary's and are going to play quite defensively. So we needed a style of football that, we needed to be able to sort of like pick our way through teams. And we've been hopeless at that. Like no movement off the ball, no movement ahead of the ball, no one to pass to half the time. So it was all sideways and backwards. And in the Sheffield Wednesday game and in the pre-season friendlies, you could see the triangles, you could see the players linking up. It wasn't perfect because it's not going to be straight away, but it was it was good to see. It was good to see players swapping positions. It was good to see, options. Because I know it sounds ridiculous, but we've been so bad going forward the last sort of really 3 years. It's been terrible. So for me personally, it's just great to see some sort of threat. And if it works some games and it doesn't work other games, I'll take that, because I think, longer term, we absolutely had to change from what we were doing. So I've been impressed by it. And you've got to remember as well, he's basically had the same players that we had last year. And yes, we're playing in a lower division now. But I mean, the side we had last year, playing the way it was last year, if we'd been in the Championship, we'd be finishing 15th, 16th, rubbish. Whereas, anyone who knows anything about football at the moment is predicting us to have a good season. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, quite hopeful, and Russell Martin's one of the reasons why.
What do you make of Norwich then heading into this game? I mean, they're kind of last season, if you were looking for, and I guess particularly pertinent for you guys, if you're looking for a way to bounce back to the Premier League, that's everything Norwich City weren't last year. What do you make of them? David Wagner in charge, like you say, there probably is going to be that element of being happy to play without the ball. Norwich like to press teams; they like to go after teams under David Wagner. It's been a key philosophy of his coaching career. Probably feels like one team with possession, one team who maybe will be happy with the other team having possession. So we'll see how that pans out. But yeah, just Norwich generally. It's always interesting to get an external view on things. What do you make of what's going on at Carrow Road at the moment?
At the moment, I'll admit I didn't keep track really of what was going on in the Championship.
You didn't
last
miss
year.
much. You didn't miss much.
No. I mean, obviously, I've been aware of your Premier League seasons, which in the main have been poor, haven't they? They've usually. How many times have you been relegated in the last 5-6 years? Is it twice? It's at least twice, isn't it?
At least twice, yeah.
So, I mean, I think there was one season where you were dreadful from the off, and there was one season where you started reasonably well, and it all fell away after Christmas, and then it ended up with you going down. But I mean, from what I saw of your game against Hull at the weekend, I actually thought you looked one of the better sides that I saw in the round in the Championship highlights. I quite like the way your team is kind of set with a mixture of youth and experience. You've got the two centre backs who have obviously been around a long time. Okay, they might get caught out for pace occasionally, but that's a solid pairing. You got big ugly Ashley Barnes up front, and I mean that in the nicest possible way. He is a handful. I don't know how old he is now, but he's
33 now. Yeah,
33.
Yeah.
I mean, he is a handful. Even if he doesn't score goals himself, he will create openings for others. And you got the young players who came in, and the two lads who got the goals, I think, are quite young. Jonathan Rose certainly is. So, I actually thought, Norwich have got quite a lot to work with there. My last visit to Carrow Road was it's probably before you were born. It was probably about 1990, believe it or not. I came up and we had two players sent off. I think it was that long ago. I think it was Alan Shearer and Neil Ruddock got sent off. So that's how long ago that was. So that was the last time I've been to Carrow Road. So I'm sure it's changed a bit since then. But no, I mean, Norwich have always been one of those clubs who I've kind of equated with ourselves when we were in League One together not so long ago.
Yeah.
So
Wasn't it? Didn't Norwich do a back-to-back promotion? Then Southampton did it like the year
following,
after. Is that right? Yeah.
I remember playing you in League One, but no, most clubs I don't really. There's some clubs you don't like, as a rule, Liverpool, and and a few others. But I've never really had any sort of issue with Norwich. They seem to be a similar sort of club to ourselves, just trying to do their best, and it's always it always annoys me when you have nice things, like you have the odd decent player, and it just it's like, no, you can't have good things. We're gonna take those away from you, and that always seems to be the way it works for clubs of our sort of size. But no, I don't know what you're expecting, but I'm certainly expecting Norwich to challenge the playoffs this year. And from what I've seen on the opening weekend, I don't really see any reason to change that.
It's been interesting. I think I'd say the mood has certainly lifted since Saturday, but beforehand, I think you'd have been hard pressed to find a Norwich fan who was backing them to finish in the top six, just because of the mood and the way it ended last season. I think that's probably flipped. I think there's probably a few more now. If you polled them, might say that they have a chance. I think that's why Saturday is really interesting, because certainly from a Norwich perspective, I think the fans are viewing it as a real test. Where are we? Where are Norwich City? Where how much have they improved under David Wagner over the summer? Because as good as the win was on Saturday, we don't know how good Hull are or aren't, and same for you guys, I guess, with Sheffield Wednesday. So I don't know. Are Southampton fans viewing it in the same way? Are they viewing Saturday as a little bit of a test or a gauge as to where they are and how much progress they've made under Russell Martin so far?
I think so. I personally think it's huge for us because it's at home, and our home record over the last few years has been shocking, and we only won 2 at home last year, and that kind of sets the mood. The atmosphere's been dreadful in the ground. It's just like apathetic. And it's just like, we're going to throw a goal in a minute. Here it comes. Oh, there you go. And it had been like that, even if we were in front, which happened very, very occasionally. We had games like we played Wolves last year. We were 1-0 up. They then had a player sent off, and we lost 2-1. With lots of that sort of stuff going on over the last few years. So I think it's kind of a massive game for us because it's at home. It wouldn't matter who it was against. We have to, if we've got aspirations of being near the top, we've got to win at least half of our home games. And at the moment, you wouldn't back us to do that, given how bad our record has been over the last 5 years. Obviously, different division. I don't really know how teams are going to come and set up against us, but I'm more confident now that we can break teams down. I think the teams that come and play football, I think we'll be fine against. We will struggle a little bit against teams who are direct, because I think we've got a team of sort of lightweight, nice boys who it'll be interesting to see how we get on when we play against some of the big ugly teams.
That's what feels so interesting about Saturday to me. I mean, you've kind of mapped it out there. I think Norwich will come, and in the way that Sheffield Wednesday didn't, because I don't think they had that mobility and physicality in their side to go after Southampton for a long period. I think Norwich will try and do that. And then, as you say, because they've now got Ashley Barnes into the mix, they predominantly want to play on the floor, but they don't mind clipping it into him and getting up the pitch that way. So it probably feels like Saturday's game is going to come down to who does what they're trying to do better. Is it Southampton, and are they able to break Norwich's press? Or is Norwich's press so good that actually Southampton can't play through it? That kind of feels like whichever side does that better, or I guess they could cancel each other out, but will probably win the game. That's probably where my head is at. I don't know what you think.
I think if you've got to look after our wingers, because the Sheffield Wednesday game, Nathan Teller and Sam Edozie, they got one-on-one against the fullbacks so many times, and they're both lightning. They're both absolute lightning off a standing start, basically. So Sam Edozie can go from 0 to see you later in no time at all. He's just electric. But the final ball's not quite there at the moment. But that will come. So if you can hatch some sort of plan to stop us going through through the wide players, but then you've still got to worry if you stop those two of the fullbacks, Walker Peters and Manning will offer a threat as well. And you've got players joining in from midfield like Charlie Alcaraz, who sort of comes from that deep position, and he's difficult to pick up. So I don't know what you like in sort of defensive midfield, but someone's going to have to track him, because he's a player that I will be delighted if we've still got at the end of the transfer window. He's only been in the country 6 months. We signed him in January. He was the one January signing who was decent, and he's only 20. He arrived in the country, doesn't speak English, and he basically said at the end of the season, "I'm staying next year because I'm only just getting used to things." But you know how it works. If someone comes in and says it's 30 million quid, he's going to go, sort of thing. So I will be delighted if we get to September the 1st and we've still got him. So he's one you certainly have to watch. And we've got, and up front we'll probably have Adam Armstrong, who we're all waiting to rediscover his Blackburn form. So, where he scored 27 goals or whatever it was in the Championship.
He's got one, right?
Yeah, he's got one off his face, off the back of his head.
Great finish, that.
But he's been shocking for 2 years, to be honest. He just couldn't handle the Premier League, lost all his confidence. So, it's the old thing. Do you back him to find what he had 2 years ago, or do you think, nah, this guy's not got it? So, it'll be interesting to see our wide players sort of like buzzing around your centre backs. I don't know too much. Is it Jack Stacey at fullback?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I know he was at Bournemouth, but I don't know too much about him. Has he got any pace about him?
Yeah, pretty athletic and probably a lot taller than you expect. It's kind of been my first impression of him.
Yeah.
But what I would say on the other side is Dimi Yanulis, who is the example, really, really good going forward, but is sort of culpable to a lapse in concentration every now and again. So, yeah, that's going to be a really interesting battle, I think.
Yeah, I think if you can stop our attacking players, then you've got a good shout, especially with the likes of Duffy and Barnes set pieces. We're very vulnerable on those. We have been for years. We've gone through about 3 set piece coaches and made the slightest difference. So we're a little bit vulnerable there. So that if I was involved with Norwich, I would certainly be looking at that and practicing the hell out of them this week, because that's the thing. Russell Martin knows that we've got to improve on that. We've just employed yet another set piece coach, but he's only been in the door a couple of days, so whether that's going to make a difference straight away or not, I don't know. But he knows that it's all very well having 75% possession. Sheffield Wednesday nearly nicked a point against us. They got in our half once, won a corner, scored a header. Scored a knockdown, and scored from a knockdown. So, Russell Martin knows what's what, but he also knows that we have got a weakness there, and we're not the biggest. We're not the biggest side. So that is certainly an area Norwich could look at.
How do you see it going then, Glenn? Tell me, look into your crystal ball. How do you see Saturday panning out?
I'm quite optimistic at the moment, which makes a change for me, because I haven't been much over the last 4 or 5 years. So I think we'll have too much for you up front, to be honest, and I think our style of play will wear you down. I think Norwich will have their moments, but I think we'll just have too much. So I was hedging towards 3-1 a while ago, but I'm not quite as optimistic as that now, so I'll go for 2-1.
Lovely stuff. I think I've gone for a draw, I think, on your podcast. So
You did.
I'll stick with that. And we'll see how it goes. It's certainly going to be interesting. Going to be obviously Russell Martin's first home game. He couldn't have picked a better one against Norwich, could he? So
yeah,
it's going to be absolutely fascinating. I'm looking forward to a trip to St Mary's on Saturday. Always a lovely place to visit. I'm glad we get to do it in August as opposed to, I think, mid-January or whenever it was last time, and it was utterly freezing. But there we go.
It was an evening game.
It was. Glenn, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate great insight on all things Southampton there. Of course, plenty more build-up and analysis, I guess, to David Wagner's press conference, which will be on Thursday across our channels, pinkin.com, the place to go for that. And then we'll be at St Mary's for all your usual full match coverage. It's as we've been previewing for the last half an hour, it's going to be a fascinating game of football, I think, and I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you very much, Glenn, for joining me, and we'll see you all again next week.